the camaraderie was something that you can't recreate. You can't do it in the civilian world. When you're standing side by side with somebody at 32 below zero at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're repairing an aircraft, or you're someplace else in the heat of the desert, and you're doing your patrols or what have you, that's something that is not out there. That's something that's internal. Learning, or not learning, but having the ability to have a lifelong friend after 3 months of just working together is something that you can't do outside the military. There's not enough. So here we go. We're doing Team Spirits. We're doing a couple of times a year. 1 year I go up, and we're in Tent City, and all of a sudden we hear the scream of an F4, and everybody knows. I was just talking to Justin about this. Most of the time we can listen to an airplane flying overhead and go, oh, that's a C-130, or that's an F-15 or something like that. But we're standing outside just all chilling out, and we heard an F4 go by, and it sounded off. We could tell it was an F4, but it sounded off. So sure enough, everybody looks up, and you can see, the whole team just kind of look over, and this F4 is lower than it should be. Smoke trailing. All of a sudden you see it dip below the trees and then come back up. It was in trouble. It had lost all hydraulics, it had lost all electrical, and these two young captains decided that their entire mission was going to get that F4 away from as many people as possible. So after it bounced off the ground, it turned sideways and it landed at the opening of one of those hardened shelters. And the openings are big steel vault doors, and it has a concrete L hanging off of it. And the story later that we heard is there was a crew chief that was working on a plane, and he heard something going on, so he walked out, opened the door, and he walks this way towards the L opening, and he sees it. And it's like closer than he's ever seen somebody before. Literally steps back, closes the door. Just as he locks it, he hears the thunderous roar of that plane. That plane, one of its engines actually went through that L opening. So everybody from Tent City, we could see the fireball. First thing that happens is big voice comes off, and it says, emergency, 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 that type of thing. Everybody stay in place. So all of us were sitting back trying to figure out, what's going on. Fast forward to they investigate the whole thing. Unfortunately, they both pilots lost their lives. So they do a briefing in one of the largest hangars that we have, and they showed the video from the F4's cockpit. They didn't show it all the way down, but they showed it enough. They showed enough to show what the pilots were going through. All of us sit back and we're watching this, and it's a very surreal moment because everybody in that maintenance hangar had worked on that airplane at one point in time. What actually happened is that during that maneuver, something happened where something broke loose, and it started with the hydraulic systems, and that's what took out the hydraulic systems first. So they were way out to sea, trying to doing all their things out there. So making it back to the base, and their initial thought was to try to get them to just land, but then they realized that they were never going to have the height. So it was that moment where things kind of changed for me, because then it was like all of a sudden, the whole life and death thing kind of became, front and center. I started to take my job a little bit differently, a little bit tighter, a little bit, that type of stuff. But I realized in that moment, that was one of those defining moments for me, that everybody in one place, we were all on the same page, and we're all there for each other. It was, we still did our fun stuff and stuff like that. But it was different because, something had happened in our lives that changed it. It's the easiest way to say it. That's part of where I'm at nowadays. I mean, the position I'm in now, it's not something that I ever foresaw myself doing. I wanted to become a mechanical engineer. The Air Force actually changed my life quite a bit because one of the things I didn't touch on is that, space shuttles and stuff like that, I wanted to become an astronaut. But I found out I was colorblind. And you have to have perfect vision to become a pilot. So at one point, I decided, well, if I can't fly them, maybe I can work on them. And that's where that set me down that track. But then, if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have been in the position to see what it was that I saw that day. And, one of the things that I found interesting later on in life is that I could feel the pressure and the heat from the explosion. And it didn't make sense to me at first. So the camaraderie that is in the military is one of those things where it is something that I kind of looked for it. I kind of kept trying to find it. And when it's the military, it's very easy to find. And it doesn't matter your age, because I remember listening to people who have hair color like mine and thinking, damn, he's kind of a grandpa. I wonder what he really knows. And it's now that I'm here and I'm in this moment, I'm like, that day was yesterday for me. It's ingrained in my memory. So when I have somebody who calls me Gramps, it's one of those things where you're like, yeah, that's, it's not an insult, So the camaraderie is one of the things that I'm trying to continue on here in this position. I've been active duty. My base was BRAC, and we did a reduction in force, so we did RIFT. Then I got in the reserve. Then I got out, got married, became a military spouse, and a stay-at-home dad a year later. I was a stay-at-home dad for 17 years. So doing all that kind of stuff, it's kind of a well-rounded type of thing, but it's specific. It's specific in the military. And it's something that has propelled me into this type of position unknowingly. This was something that was literally an opportunity. The door was open and I took it. So I started off trying to finish my degree and started it and got into the Veteran Center, and here I am. Wow, do I have to count back? Here I am some years later. And now I'm sitting in a director's role here at the center. And now I'm here to try to make your lives easy by creating whatever I possibly can so that you feel comfortable to be here. We have so many different stories. When Jennifer approached me with this whole project, I was the first one to say yes, even though this is very hard for me. It's very hard for me to talk about myself. But I realize that we've been listening. I've been listening to these stories for a very long time, but they're not recorded. They're not taken down, and it's one of the things that I really miss about my dad. My dad was War Story Central. Yeah, so it was. He would say he would tell us stories about this and that. He would tell us stories about when he was deployed and he met celebrities and stuff like that. So that's one of the reasons that I jumped in with both feet. I wanted to get to this point so that I could open the door and let everybody else know that it's not that hard. It's not that hard. It's your story, but it's a different story. And if it makes a difference, if it opens up one of your ideologies to telling the story, I've made my case.